I did updates because it was if the flow is not the same, it's just a matter of all the details. So it'll take you through the meeting.
Good morning, everybody. It's really nice to see you guys. I've had an opportunity to meet some of you this past week. It's been really enjoyable to touch base with you all again. And this has been great to finally get out and be able to be a part of enjoying a little vacation and also be a part of this meeting here today. Before we get started, I would like the board, and I'll start with Michelle, to introduce each other. My name is Steve, I'm the president and treasurer of Carriage in this board, and I'm just going to pass it on to.
Good morning, I'm Pete Spitzley. I'm vice president and secretary of the board.
Closer? Okay.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Pete Spitzley. I'm vice president and secretary of the board. Let's say welcome.
Good morning. My name is Bill Young. I'm the director of the board. Thank you.
And I kind of stepped ahead of myself. I would now like to call our 2022 annual meeting to order. And now that you've had the board has introduced themselves to you, I would like to turn it over to Rob, our general manager, to introduce the rest of the panel. And also I've asked her to chair the meeting going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Can you hear me okay? Good. Good morning. Good morning. It is great to see everybody again. We're so glad you've joined us this morning, and we do have folks out on YouTube, so we're live on YouTube this morning, which is exciting. It's an honor to be a part of this association and your resorts. It's been a great time here, so I'm really pleased to be here at this podium. And I'd like to introduce our great team that we have working for you. I'm going to start with Lisa Inahara, our Director of Resort Services, and Mark Smith, our Director of Resort Operations. We have Ken Lowry, he's the Senior VP of HOA Accounting. And today we have Bernard Tian with us. He's also Vice President of Revenue and Distribution Marketing. And Smith Toussaint, he is a Senior Director of Resort Operations and Sales and Marketing. We also have Rich Moore, our COO of BRI and Trading Places.
Can't hear you when you step away.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, and we have Doug Wilcox, Senior VP of Resort Operations and Trading Places. And we have Megan Phelps with us, Legal Counsel for the Association. So thank you all for joining us. I'm going to turn it over to Richard Moore. Thank you.
Okay, if I back up the microphone, you can just give me a wave and I'll try to lean in a bit. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see familiar faces again, and I'm sure you'll agree it's just great seeing faces again, right? The team has really invested a lot of time and energy in making sure that this week was special for all of you. I think it was special for all of them as well. Being the first time that we've gotten back together in person in 2 years, hard to believe. But they really spent a lot of time. The planning starts for this 6 months out. So there was always a bit of a risk that something like Omicron could derail these plans. But everyone moved forward on faith, and I think the end result was fantastic. So I just really like to show our appreciation to staff for all that they've done this week. I wanted to take this opportunity to provide a brief but fairly high-level perspective on what has transpired over the last 2 years. Because the toughest aspect of what we have just come through, and even now to a lesser or different degree, has been the unpredictability of everything and all that we've had to do to adapt to it. You know, starting well before the shutdowns began in April of 2020, our parent company, Marriott Vacations Worldwide, MEW, stood up what's called a Disaster Assessment and Response Team, called the DART team. And this was really a reaction to when the virus began spreading around Asia, which really got a head start before it entered the US. So we, as a management company, had a bit of a jump start based on what they were learning about PPE, about distancing, about enhanced cleaning, about signage, and all of these things, which gave us a little bit of a leg up, but certainly didn't prepare us for all that was to come. Thereafter, we received daily, sometimes multiple times a day, updates on all of the closing and restrictions that were being implemented. And it was extremely confusing and difficult to try and follow the bouncing ball because they all vary from state to state, and even within a state, from county to county, and even within a county, city to city. And we had to keep track of all of that and make sure that we were in compliance in all of these different jurisdictions. Just to give you an example of how confusing it got for all of us, in March of 2020, Orange County, California, where our corporate headquarters is located, about 189, 190 employees. Orange County Board of Health determined that all non-essential businesses needed to shut down and send their employees home. So we scrambled, and we had employees pull up to the back door, and we started dumping computer equipment into their trunks. Not really sure how we were going to get it all activated, but we knew we had to get out of the building. About a week later, the state ruled that the county did not have that authorization. So we called all the employees and said, bring your computer equipment back and start plugging it all back in. 2 weeks later, the state issued the same mandate. So we had to shut down again. This time it was a little bit easier, but talk about confusion. After we had relocated our staff to home offices and started beefing up all of our security protocols and so forth, fires broke out in Southern California. So all the people who were deployed to home offices had to evacuate. In fact, Ken Laurie and I were out to dinner one of those nights when the waitress came out and said, we're evacuating the restaurant. The fires was literally right across the street. So when you think about how you adapt to all of that, when you have really most of what we do has to be performed in a secure office environment, things like handling your personally protected information, processing credit cards, processing maintenance fee payments, computer security, and all of those things that really must be done in a secure environment. We had to come up with all new ways for handling those transactions safely and securely. We also had to modify our phone system. We operate a big call center. We had to modify our phone system so that when someone called into our call queue, they could be routed to someone's cell phone or personal phone, whoever happened to be on duty at the time. Adding to those challenges, banking and all of our third-party servicers were likewise either shutting down or running short-staffed. It was a very, very challenging time, and needless to say, it affected our service levels. We have since rebounded from that, but for those of you who tried to reach our office during that time and couldn't get through, we sincerely apologize and we appreciate your patience because we knew that our service levels were not where they needed to be. It's really pretty remarkable to think about where we've come through just from this time 2 years ago. There was serious legitimate concern about the viability of our industry when we had to begin shutting down resorts and telling owners that they couldn't come and stay. We were preparing ourselves for a massive fallout. And the good news is, it didn't happen. In fact, sort of counterintuitive to our worst fears, just the opposite happened. In many ways, we've come to the other side here stronger. Many of you and many of your fellow owners have rediscovered their own resorts and the value of having full kitchens when restaurants weren't operating, multiple bedrooms so that you and your families could all stay in the same unit. Rental business has come back with a vengeance. In fact, some call it revenge travel because people were cooped up for so long. You've probably heard about it, and it's all true. In 2020, counterintuitively, Carriage Place ended the year with an operating surplus of almost $50,000, actually $50,500 for the year. And the bottom line is, here we all are today. This is primarily, if not exclusively, because of your staff. They stood strong and did whatever was necessary. And that was in spite of the risk to their own health and that of their families, and some tragically had personal losses. Does not mean that we're out of the woods today. We are still dealing with labor shortages. We're still dealing with supply chain issues, inflation. Just a side note, I had dinner with Bernard the other night down at the Landing at Saltgrass, a restaurant that I like, popular in Texas, steakhouse. They didn't have enough steak. They had to limit the portions. I'm sure you're all experiencing it in your own lives. Just try to get spare parts these days. Try to buy a car. We have to plan differently, and that's the challenge. We can't assume that something is going to be there when we need it. And that's exactly what your team is doing. The term is pivot, and we are pivoting enough to make everyone's head spin. But positive trends continue. Just yesterday, February 28th, the island of Maui relaxed all of its local COVID restrictions. Now that is significant because Hawaii was the most locked down restrictive state out of them all. In fact, there was a point in time when certain individuals could not travel even between islands without having to quarantine. So for Hawaii to begin lowering those requirements, I think it's an excellent sign for us globally. In fact, just this morning, I just received my most recent update, and the city of Honolulu has followed suit, and they're dropping they've ended their emergency orders. Now, I'm also told that the state mandate, so although these local municipalities have done this, the state still has its mask mandate. For those of you who are planning to travel to Hawaii, you're still going to have to wear a mask, and you're still going to have to participate in the safe travel program. But it is a major step in the right direction. I was going to limit my comments today to primarily that, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to share some other good news with you. I think it's important to use this opportunity both to tell you some things that are going on in the industry, and also to hopefully encourage you as we're encouraged, what we see in the future. Even prior to COVID, the biggest and most daunting challenge that our industry faced was the rise and proliferation of exit companies and predatory transfer companies. You've heard from them, we've heard from them, they have wreaked havoc on our industry. These unscrupulous companies made billions of dollars, victimizing your fellow owners, vilifying the board, and convincing owners that they were being scammed by others when in fact these companies were the ones doing the scamming. Exit and transfer companies had pumped massive amounts of money into television and radio advertising, and even hired lobbyists to prevent legislation against their unscrupulous practices. It has been a long battle, but progress was made in just the last 2 years. Let a couple of press releases speak to this issue. The first one is from the American Resort Development Association, ARDA, and the Resort Owners Coalition. This is our industry's legislative advocate and protective organization. It's dated March 4th, 2021, and it cites Jason Gamble, who is the president and CEO of ARDA. It said, in light of Consumer Protection Week, which at that time it was, the ARDA Resort Owners Coalition, the leading political advocacy organization fighting on behalf of timeshare owners nationwide today, commended the work of attorneys general and Better Business bureaus nationwide for their help in fighting fraud in the timeshare resale and exit arena. And he goes on to recognize the attorneys general of several states, including right here in Missouri, Attorney General Carriage Smith. So we want to recognize him for his efforts in really cracking down on these unscrupulous practices. Last month, because it is now March 1st, so in February, this is just recent news, ARDA released a follow-up press release, and I think you'll find this interesting. In less than 6 months after Washington State Attorney General Bob Ferguson announced Reed Hine and Associates, also known as Timeshare Exit Team, must stop its deceptive timeshare exit practices and pay $2.61 million to the state, plus an additional $19 million if it violates the terms of the consent agreement. The company is officially closing its doors, serving as yet another example of unscrupulous third-party exit companies leaving consumers high and dry. Unfortunately, there's a well-established history of timeshare exit companies using their fraud and deceit to make profit and closing their doors when they cannot fulfill their far-reaching, too good to be true guarantees, while thousands of consumers are left paying the price. In July 2021, according to the Better Business Bureau, as well as the Council of Consumers and News Reports, another company, Timeshare Termination Team, abruptly shut its doors without warning. Its website appears inactive, and the company has not responded to consumer inquiries and the thousands of dollars in upfront fees it collected without performing any services of value. There are reports that this company has since filed for bankruptcy. In 2019, American Consumer Credit was ordered to pay a total of $23 million in civil penalties and was permanently prohibited from engaging in exit activities in the future. That same year, American Resource Management Group filed for bankruptcy with $20 million in outstanding consumer credit claims, following multiple lawsuits related to deceptive practices and false advertising. The group also operated under other business names and is related to a number of exit companies that also filed for bankruptcy, including Redemption and Release, Resort Exit Team, Resort Release, and Vacation Properties for Less. In 2018, the Supreme Court of Tennessee disbarred the founding attorney of Castle Law Group, another timeshare exit business, on a myriad of charges related to consumer fraud complaints, and the business has shut down its operations. These are just merely a few recent examples that clearly illustrate the history of deceptive practices and legal issues involving these timeshare exit companies. I was debating whether I was going to add this to my commentary, because personally, my family and I have been huge fans of Dave Ramsey. Many of you probably are as well. In fact, we had our boys listen to his podcasts and read his books to help them understand good financial management. But the truth is, the reason exit became so insidiously successful was its ability to portray itself as consumer advocates, and they were backed by totally misguided celebrities. Our representatives, and Dave Ramsey was a major sponsor of Timeshare Exit Team, the first company that I mentioned in that new press release. Art met with Dave Ramsey and tried to educate him on how his listeners were being victimized. He refused to stop advertising. Monica Fish, a writer for Wealth of Geeks, writes, and I believe he summarizes the outcome best. For years, Dave Ramsey touted, endorsed, and advertised Timeshare Exit Team services as a trusted company that his followers could turn to when they no longer wanted their vacation ownership. Timeshare Exit Team is the only people we endorse for getting you out of your timeshare because it works! Exclamation mark. Ramsey said they charge most people an upfront fee between $3,000 and $9,000 and offered a 100% money-back guarantee. It seemed too good to be true, and it was. One owner of a Branson timeshare filed a complaint with Washington State after they gave $11,000 to Timeshare Exit Team, and 2 years later still had their timeshare. They hired these services because they put their faith in Dave Ramsey's glowing recommendation of the company. But because Timeshare Exit Team said they were still working on the case, they insisted the money couldn't be refunded. They didn't refund money. Despite Timeshare Exit Team being listed under the heading of Dave Recommends on his website, he didn't personally research the company and its services. I have no direct insight into Rehein's operations, representations to its customers, or other aspects of its business, Ramsey said in court documents. Again, others on my team are responsible for the details of the endorsement relationship, and I acted based on their recommendations and advice. That is a very different statement, this article goes on to say. That is a very different statement than the quote he provided in a 2015 press release announcing the endorsement. At that time, Dave Ramsey said, after years of being asked how to get out of our timeshares, I'm excited to announce that we finally found a company I trust to help my listeners get rid of this horrible product. TimeshareExitTeam.com is a 100% guarantee that they will get you out, or you will get every bit of your money back. These are the folks that I trust. End quote. In spite of our multiple warnings to owners just like you, these endorsements became just too irresistible. And unfortunately, too many of your fellow owners fell victim to it. So what's happening now? I won't belabor the point. Timeshare sales have rebounded significantly. However, that rebound is primarily along the lines of the luxury brands, the expensive vacation ownership resorts. But as they say, all boats rise and fall at the same time. So what's happening in our industry in general benefits us all. In its last earnings call, our parent company, Marriott Vacations Worldwide, reported that consolidated vacation ownership contract sales for MVW alone totaled nearly $1.4 billion for full year 2021. $1.4 billion. How does that happen if this is such a horrible problem? Our CEO, Steve Weiss, announced the highest adjusted EBITDA since Marriott Vacations Worldwide became a separate organization from Marriott International. The last article I'm going to cite goes back to ARDA and the state of the vacation timeshare industry report for 2021. And I read from the section's industry outlook. The results of this report show that an industry that is taking steps to address the enormous challenges posed by unexpected changes to its sales and operating models. While over 90% of resorts reported at least temporary closure due to the pandemic, nearly all returned to operation and were able to serve timeshare owners and guests in a manner reflecting the times. Enhanced sanitation measures were employed almost universally to help address health and well-being concerns, and several developers added online channels to their sales operation as a new way of doing business. Because of the lingering effects of the pandemic 2021 may also be a challenging year for the timeshare industry. However, as shown in earlier figures in the report, economic forecasts for the second half of 2021 are robust, and U.S. GDP is expected to rise above pre-COVID forecasts by mid-year. As was the case after the economic downturns of 2009 and 2010, the steps the industry is now taking will be key to setting the course for a strong recovery to prior levels of performance and key industry metrics in 2021 and beyond. That's exactly what happened. 2022 is also shaping up to be another excellent year. I hope you're all encouraged by that, as I am. In closing, we are going to do our absolute best to continue providing you and your families with great vacations and memories, and it is our privilege and honor to be here with you. Thank you.
That's great. Information for us to all be aware of what's going on, but we all have a heart for our timeshare and sharing big times with our families and friends and history, which we've done for so many years with you. I want to step back a moment and acknowledge we have a couple of our staff members also here to say thank you for coming today. We have Stephanie Quick in the presentation box, and we have Nick Robbins with us with IT Tech to support us on YouTube and such. And then your registration team that was out front, Kelly Campbell, she's in Owner Services, you should all know her very well. And she's there to help you, Diana, at the front desk, and Cherry working the front desk. They've both been with us many years. Donna Sprague, she's in the Activity Center and Information Center there for you. And Cindy Palmer at front desk also, so thank them also. So we have an agenda, we have official business to cover here today, along with sharing some great information from this terrific team we have here. So as you checked in at your registration table, you should have received a 3x5 card. Just collect your questions. We will address them as many as we can during the open forum. And we'll have time. We need to consider our time restrictions here today for the business we have to conduct due to the next meeting following and our time restriction with the Keeter Center. We do want to say thank you to the Keeter Center too for accommodating us today. So next on the agenda is your proof of of the notice of meeting. The notice of meeting was placed in the U.S. postal system according to the postage statement here. It was delivered to the owners and postmarked on February 7th, 2022. Next item on the agenda is establishing a quorum, and I'd like to invite Doug Wilcox to the podium, please.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be back in person. It's great to see you all again. It's always fun to see familiar faces enjoying your time sharing. I don't know if you've noticed who's in charge this year. It's not Smith. Right? I don't know if you all are aware, but Bob has been promoted to Resort General Manager. Smith has been promoted as well as director. He's involved himself in the sale of the Timeshare Free Association, as well as supervising and assisting the rest of the staff. So there's some really fun changes going on with your association staff and how they're operating your resort. So I hope you can offer Robin your support and all of her team. Now, the quorum, I am sad to say we do not have a quorum today. You have 8,164 intervals in the association. We reduced that number by the number of intervals that are not paying, which is 3,337. More than half of that are intervals that are held by former developer, SBR, and the rest are individual members. So that brings the total active members to 4,827. And that's the number that are able to participate in your meeting, vote, and things like that. A quorum is 15% of that number, of 4,827, and that is 724 votes that are represented either in person or by proxy. Well, we received 535 votes through proxy prior to our meeting, and we have 48 of you votes here present today. That's not quite enough. That makes 580 total, which is only 12%. So unfortunately, the quorum is not established. Therefore, we are unable to conduct the business of this meeting. Therefore, the approval of the annual meeting minutes for 2021 will not be conducted. The budget ratification will not be voted on. An election of a board member will not be conducted today. Now, what this presents to the association under your declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions of your association are that you have to postpone this meeting not more than 90 days from February 7th. So we will be having to re-notice a meeting later on in a couple of months and try and secure that additional a couple hundred members to participate in that voting so that the annual meeting can be done, business of the meeting can be conducted again. We will continue with the meeting. We are excited to present you with our reports and updates and invitations, and we appreciate you being here. Your proxy that you have delivered to us or checked in today is valid for 3 months. So when you receive a notice in the mail again, please respond. We have your proxy from this meeting on record. It's okay to send in a new one. We will just piggyback it so that we have it, but we will need to generate a larger number of votes for those who did not participate. So with that, I'll turn the time back over to Robin and we'll complete our meeting. Yes, sir.
I mailed my proxy back in the day I got it. This is the second time I get it every second after receiving. So I'm wondering if we mail them in, what happens to them? It appears that you don't get them all.
Yeah, that's, we don't know about. See if we can't track that down.
Okay.
And I think I saw you at the front desk and they were making a note that you had sent in a proxy.
That's correct.
And we'll follow up on that and find out where it is.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, would you please repeat the numbers? That is my hearing aid just died, so I can't hear that well. I can hear you. I said that from the beginning.
I took my glasses off, I can't see them. All right. We have 8,164 votes in the association. We have 3,337 who are delinquent in paying their maintenance and are unable to vote. They are removed from the quorum requirement. Your quorum becomes 4,827. You need 15% of that quorum, of that number, to form a quorum, which is 724. We had 535 send in their proxies that we received. 48 and a half that are attending here today. You have a half because you've gone every other year, odd or even. It's for a total of 583.5.
Got it?
Yes, question?
Of the processes that were submitted, how many were submitted electronically?
535. I'm sorry, no, that's not correct.
What was the question?
The question was, how many of the votes that were submitted through electronic means? You all remember you had the opportunity to go online and vote, or mail in your vote. I believe the number was, of the electronic votes was 220. I'm going to say that's an approximate, because I don't have that number with me, but it was, we hired a company called Nordis, who facilitated the voting and the delivery of the notice. And so they received your online votes and a return mail vote through US Postal. So that's thank you very much.
Actually, we have Ken Lowry up next for your financial report.
Good morning and hello everybody. It's great to be here. So I think I'm the only new face on the panel that you guys probably have not seen. I know I've seen a couple of you at the meetings we went to. But my name, as Robin said, my name is Ken Lowry. I oversee the accounting for our managed HOA portfolio for both VRI and TPI. Some of you may have known Louis Moran. Louis Moran was with the company for several years. He had resigned last year and went on to some different lifetime goals. So I'm filling his seat here. So welcome, and like I said, it's great to be here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the financials. It's very summarized. It'll be by department, and I think to note these are unaudited numbers. So we don't have our audit. Our audit usually is complete maybe around the May time, late April, May time frame. So we don't have audited numbers, but we wanted to get out the December information for you at the meeting. So what I'm going to do is I'll just run down by department and talk about the variances. A lot of the departments have very small variances, so not much discussion. And then I'll just hone in on some of the larger variances. So summarize, so we earned for revenue $3,519,069. We had total operating expenses of $3,774,015. So those of you that are really quick with math, you can see we had more expenses than revenue. So we ended the year at a loss of $254,000 in total for the whole association. And now I'll kind of walk you through. So revenue, we had, like I said, we ended the year with 3,519,000, and we budgeted 3,639,000. So we had budgeted to get more in. Two of the big areas that we missed was in sales. We were shy about $36,000 in revenue for the sales, and that's the actual sale of timeshare. And as well as we also budget for maintenance fee recovery. So for the delinquent folks, Doug just gave you all the information about the delinquent owners. A lot of times they'll pay, they want to get current, and they pay. So we had budgeted we missed by about $63,000 on the delinquent owner payments. So we were a little aggressive, hoping everything was going to turn around now this year. We collected a little bit more from the delinquent folks, and that was a miss by about $63,000. So total revenue was down $121,000. Front desk, we hit, we're right in line. We had budgeted $109,000, came in at $110,000, so we were only $300 off there. Security, we budgeted $65,700, came in at $70,500, so we're a little down $4,800. Primarily the driver there is just an increase in wages. So a lot of you'll see wage increases across the board, just really to get people up so we can be a world-class provider. So small salary adjustments there. Landscaping, we had less landscaping, so we saved about $4,564. Engineering was pretty flat. We budgeted $422,000, came in at $421,000, so we had savings of just under $1,970. Housekeeping is the big dog that you'll see the issues with. We had in the budget, we budgeted $433,000. We actually ended up spending $575,000 in housekeeping. The biggest area is contract cleaning. So our master corp agreement. So new terms, of course, nothing ever goes down, right? Nothing ever gets cheaper. So master corp increased their fees because they're struggling as well as we're struggling with getting labor. Most companies here are, and everywhere are, with getting folks. So they're actually have to pay their folks more. So our contract cost went up with master corp. That component was $102,000 just with master corp. Then we also had increased supplies, higher occupancy, increased supplies, and that all flows into the housekeeping line, and as well as the labor that we do have in housekeeping that as well. So total housekeeping was over budget by $142,000. Utilities, good news on utilities, and we have seen lower cost per electric and water. We've saved about $26,000 in the utility department, which is a good thing. Activities, we saved about $20,000. Obviously, you guys all know that utilities was extremely limited, last year. So we had savings of about $20,000. And then G&A, we had a miss of about $31,000. We budgeted $2,206,000. We came in spending $2,236,000. The biggest driver of that $31,000 difference is the liability insurance. So liability insurance across the industry has gone up. All the fires and everything else that impacts the insurance industry, our insurance went up about $25,000. So net total, just to recap, we ended the year with just the operating for the year of a deficit of $254,000. All right, next we'll walk you through your fund balance. So right now in your operating fund, you do have a negative fund balance, so you do have a deficit of $108,000. Started the year with $391,000, which I talked about the cumulative, the balance that rolled over from 2020 into the cumulative fund balance of $391,000. We let the $254,000 that we had the loss of for the year rolls through your equity, and obviously that depletes your operating fund balance. And then we also did a transfer $245,000. You can see where we moved the $245,000 after into the replacement fund. We did that based on the July financial statements when the annual deficit wasn't so much, and that's when we moved that money. So you can see that's really what's creating the $108,000 deficit in your operating fund balance. Good news is in your replacement fund balance, you do have $144,000. Started off pretty low, $4,900. We transferred in $245,000 from operating. We had the funding from your maintenance fees of $138,000, and then as well as we did spend $243,000 in expenses for the year. And I use the word projected across all this because again, these are budgeted. So they're really actual, but I don't want to say actual. Because they're not. Yeah. And that brings your replacement fund balance to 144,000. And then the last thing I want to mention is your delinquency rate. So again, Doug talked about, you saw that it was like 3,500 or 3,700 intervals were delinquent. So that rates that comes to 33.6% of your loan base or your intervals are considered delinquent. So, yes, sir.
Question on the delinquency rate, is that include the CJs or CJs?
That includes it. It includes it.
Back CJ out, what is over the
17. Yes, sir.
For those of us who may be accounting, say, is it possible for an owner to be able to get a more detailed income statement?
Sure, yeah, we run a huge, we have a whole financial presentation. I guess we need to check with the board, see what they're looking at or whatever. We certainly have all the details for this. We wanted to summarize each by department, but we certainly have by line item, very, very detailed financial statements, very detailed balance sheet.
And how do you do that?
Yeah, it's on the website under the financial tab. Is it the detail?
No, the financials are posted every
Yeah, they post it because we don't do a summary every month. We only do the full board package, and it's a full-blown detail. It's got your we didn't really cover balance sheet except for the equity section here, but it's got all your cash balances, it's got your prepaids, it's got your whole balance sheet detail on there. So if you can't find it, reach out to Robin and she can help you get it.
And I see that says unauditable, when does it get up?
So we're in the audit, as soon as the year is done, we get with the audit, you guys contract with an auditor. It's typically end of April, beginning of May, we'll have the, amount audit copy. But it's very, very early in the year to have it, has to be on it. Yes, sir.
Yes, on some of the expenses, I would make an assumption that things like housekeeping would be something that's performed under contract. And so how did we miss, that much money on housekeeping, $147,000 would have made the assumption that there's been services that were provided under some sort of future contract, and so we should know what our housekeeping fees.
No, 100% right. And the 102,000 was related to the contract labor, and that was Masterport, and they had came to us and said they can't afford to do business here, they're going to have to drop the contract if we don't renegotiate. So that was our renegotiation with the rate. So their hourly rate went up. And the increase in the rental fees as well.
So it's not protected by a contract. So they didn't have a.
Well, there was a contract, but they renegotiated the contract. And obviously we do have a contract, but we can't make a payment unless we have a contract. But they came back and said they were going to either default or they couldn't afford to do business here at all. And that's where they came and said we need to renegotiate. All right, thank you.
Branson's been challenged sometimes through the last few years. We've talked about it as we've reported out as far as labor. We've struggled to get people to come work. So we're hoping that this year will be a better year. People are up and about. Everyone exposed to COVID-related scares held them back, but we're hoping that it just thrives better. We've talked about the costs of things increasing. We're all feeling it. We're all feeling it. So it's something we're trying to manage through the best that we can. And Bernard Tan is up next. He's going to help with our rental marketing career associations.
Morning. Good morning. Can everyone hear me? Hi. Okay. Hi, good morning. My name is Bernard Tan. I'm the Vice President of Revenue Distribution and Marketing for the entire VR Americas and Trading Places International Exchange Program. So I'm going to just do a really quick 2021 recap of which I believe everyone is fairly familiar what happened in 2020 and 2021. One of the things that we saw in 2021 is domestic travel, though recovering, is still pretty much impacted by the COVID pandemic. And even though with a significant role of vaccine program in 2021, there's still different bouts and multiple variants, increased cases in different states and counties. One of the things that we noticed that fundamentally there was a refurbishment program for building B that impacted the overall rental inventory by about 6,584 less unit for rent in versus 2019. Now, knowing that, one of the things that we noticed that we know that we have shortage in supply of rentable inventory or the delinquent inventory. One of the things that we then do in addition to the COVID recovery strategies is we actually minimize any discounting to any third party or direct discounting. We clamp down on all the discounting. So you can see at this the rental metrics that the overall gross rental, the one that we collected overall, dropped by 3.9% only, even though the rental lines dropped by 19.5%. That was primarily because we raised our actualized materialized rental rate up by 19.3%. So that kind of like mitigate some of the negative impact from the drop in the rental unit. One of the other stuff that we also noticed that post-pandemic or post any unexpected event is the online travel agency, the OTA, or we call it OTA, the Expedia Group, Travelocity, Hotels.com, Booking.com, etc. They are usually the company that will always be the winner in the first stages of a travel recovery because they're the one has a lot of money to work marketing. So one of the things that we do with them is partner very closely with them. The other interesting things that we notice is that I'm trying to minimize. I can't see the screen. But there are two really interesting characteristics that we saw is almost 72.3% of all the rental reservations, they were booked within 4 weeks to arrival in 2021, compared to 55.1% in 2019. That's primarily because of the uncertainty with COVID-19. People really didn't want to book anything until they're pretty sure there is some relaxation on restriction. There are not going to be any unexpected influx of cases and things like that. The other thing that we also noticed is that almost 63.6% of your reservations are booked on OTA, while about 36.4% is booked directly on the web and property. So that trend continue pretty much from 2019 to next page. So two of the main things that we are really doing in 2022, we haven't really deviated from our guiding principle. Direct aspects. We want direct business both on the website direct, on the Carriage Place, Branson.com, and also calling the property direct. One of the things that we want in direct business a lot is because of that close relationship with the rentals that come and stay. And that allows us to remarket to them and offer them a comeback offer. Our latest statistics overall in the company shows that any people that we market to that have stayed at the resort before are 4 times as likely to click on an email and also 4 times as likely to book something on a comeback offer. Then we just said to any income they can have. Some of the things that we are doing for 2022 that we have put in place in the middle of January was we actually instituted a mandatory departure fee for all rental stays moving forward since January 14. And that ensured rate, cost, and margin equilibrium. So anything that we are paying the third party on the clean fee is being recuperated from the rental gas in addition to the rental rate. So that allows us to have some dynamic pricing with promotion and campaign without affecting the cost of servicing that room. So if we have to pay a master card about $50 or $60 for that particular unit type, we collect the whole entire cost, plus a little bit like a dollar or two just for inflationary purposes to make sure that the cost of servicing that room is being collected from the gas. And we're able to do that is because since the middle of June 2020, we actually have pivoted and repositioned the resort rental program to purely, we call it vacation rental. Vacation rental in most people's mind is to simplify deposit and cancel policy. And also at the same time, they understand that their stay, they need to contribute to the post-stay clean fee. It's not the daily clean, it's just, I stay here for 3 days, I'm paying $50 for the clean fee. Just for example, if I'm staying in a 2-bedroom, I will pay $120. What we have noticed over the years, especially the last 2 years, the vacation rental gas has no complaint about paying that service, the clean fee, and we want to pass that on to the rental gas so that it alleviates the pressure on the budget line and alleviate the pressure on the overall profitability for the homeowner association. The other thing that we also started to look at, not started to look, we will continue to do is the multi-channel distribution acquisition approach. When we talk about acquisition, it's always about acquiring new rental gas that we're able to come to experience Branson as a destination, and experience Carriage Place as the choice of accommodation. So we are 100% focused on driving direct business traffic to the web, and direct phone call to the property if the guest is not comfortable of transacting online. The other thing that we also are going to work on very, very closely is what we call the resort/destination website. A lot of the times you notice that the vacation rental guest, the destination is as much an attraction in addition to what the resort has to offer. So we started to look at those in terms of the website. The online travel agency, the traditional and non-traditional. Traditional, we usually talk about Expedia, Booking.com, about the price line. The non-traditional is, real estate, Airbnb, Vrbo. So we are looking into listing some of the room types and the units for Carriage Place onto Airbnb and truly function on the vacation rental platform. One of the other things that we are also looking into is in terms of social channel proofing and also in an engaging manner on TripAdvisor. We are reestablishing a whole entire relationship with TripAdvisor that we are going to lead from the corporate level in terms of making sure that our listing on TripAdvisor is going to be valid, complete, and accurate. And we're also going to continue to leverage on third-party marketing technology. Right now, SiteMinder is the technology solution that we do for our channel distribution, the online website booking engine. If you go to the carriageplacebranson.com, you're going to see nudge messaging. That's part of GT's nudging the gas. That nudging and that price check, if you do an online search on carriageplace.com, the system automatically helps the guest to comparatively search some of the competing OTA website and reassure the guests that they do have the best direct rate online. So here is something else that we use for digital marketing. If you go to google.com or any other search engine, you search for Branson or you search for some of the key terms within Branson, Missouri, you're going to see Carriage Place showing up as one of the top 10 to 12. I think it's less than that, probably one of the top 5 listings. That's because Sojourn is doing all the search engine optimization and search engine marketing. And they're also doing the retargeting for people that visit the carriageplacebranson.com site, but did not make a booking. So that what we call the reward will follow the guest that's online for 7 calendar days before they decide to book or not. And next slide. So last but not least, as you know, around 60% of the rental stay is currently still go to the third party, of which we have a fairly efficient system in terms of everything being automated into the system. We believe maximizing partnership that we have with our partners. So BRIA or Trading Places, we are recognized as one of the top 10 global accounts with Expedia, or they call OTA, application rental in 2021. We are very happy that we have get to the point where we have a lot more say in different things that we are doing with them, and also re-engaging them in providing us with the expanded marketing reach, intel and analytics. Most recently, in the middle of January, we started investing in travel ads. In travel ads are sponsored listing on select sites. It is auction-based, it is pay-to-play, pay-per-click, right? So in a very short 30-day window, we are actually able to garner about 42,000 impressions of the result on the searches on the Expedia Group website. And then about 1,300 clicks and around 80 plus room nights and almost 16,000 gross rental. So we believe that we're going to continue to invest and engage on the travel ads to make sure that the result is always on the top of the My Search, within the first page of anybody searching for Branson. And we're also going to reintroduce a member-only rate within the OTA that need a subscriber to improve our store order, increase merchandising, and also increase our conversion. So I showed 2 examples where Carriage Place has a tagging and also the ad that we try to change the diagram. During winter time, we show indoor. During summertime, we show the outdoor, just to kind of capture people so that it doesn't stay still. That's all I have to report for this year.
Bernard, how many room nights a year do we have available to friends in the Surrey Carriage Place?
I didn't bring this number in.
Just let's round it. If it's 170 units, 364 days, about 61,000 room nights total. I understand owners, rooms, but it looked like your slide said we rented 2,167 rentals.
Yes.
So if I look at the percentage, it's about 3.5%.
We actually have to take the total number of rooms that is available at the resort, less away the entire out of service rooms. And from there, we have to less away the blocks that's allocated to the owners and also exchanges. So that's a pretty substantial number.
Sure, I mean, the owners use their units, but let's just say the total room nights in the resort, we've rented 2,167, or about 3.5%. What I guess I'm saying is there's a lot of opportunity,
yes,
for us to make up that $247,000 shortfall to budget.
Yes.
If we can get these rentals up.
Yes.
Thank you.
We look forward to a great 2022, and we talked about people bouncing back into the industry, enjoying their timeshares again, coming out of their homes, gathering with their families and friends, and touring through friends. So the traffic is increasing. We look forward to that. That gives us an opportunity to see new faces and try and grow your ownership again too. Those downward pressures on the maintenance fees continue as long as we're growing the ownership, and that's what we're all in together for. We're all here to help that happen. So the next person I'm going to invite to the podium, Mr. Smith Toussaint, has some great information to share with you.
Good morning. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to stay right here. Okay, thank you. Your association story. We know we can count on you. The reason we need your help at this time is because your association has become the owner of many timeshare enterprises. Getting them into the hands of families that will enjoy Carriage Place and or enjoy vacationing by exchanging is huge. What do we need from you? How would you like for you to help us? It's very easy. What we need from you is to let everyone you know that the association has some amazing opportunities for owning discounted timeshare vacation. You know what a great place your resort is, and will understand what a fantastic deal can offer to your family and friends. Please, take a look at this special offers. Furthermore, we have some great news. You remember everybody received this, right? Everybody received this? And your help, and your help. And your help. You know, the great news that we have, your board of directors is giving out 3 weeks for the first 25 guest owners who would like to purchase from us. All they have to do is pay a closing fee. That's all. And that way, can you be kind to stand up, please? And all you have to do with the activity center is sit down. Of course, everybody knows that by now. Last, thank you for the past 13 years. This is our 14th wonderful week working life together. Thank you for giving us, to trust us, to serve you, and we really appreciate that. Thank you.
When we maybe get a new flyer where it doesn't say that that expires on March 4th,
Yes, indeed, that will be done.
Yes, make sure that happens. All right, so this one. Ready to get, make some noise, right? Ready, set, go. Help us help you. Spread the word. We're in it together. And let's make 2022 a great one. Thank you. Thank you, Smith. Thank you, Stephanie. Carriage Place, a lovely place. 2021, we talked about how it's brought some changes, some challenges, along with great opportunities for us to restructure and to grow and improve. In 2021, your association became a registered employer in the state of Missouri. You obtained your own employees, establishing your own insurance policies, timekeeping systems, payroll processing, handling all aspects of human resources. In addition to establishing new vendor and credit accounts. As you know, there was some restructure with the organization, sister partner, Grand Crown Resorts. Still, relations is happening, but it changed the way your association has to accomplish and go forward with business. You can be certain that there's some things that won't change. There'll always be concentrated efforts of friendly service. We strive on that. We strive on those comment cards that come in and say, your team is so friendly and so helpful. That's what touches our hearts here. We want to provide a safe and comfortable place to stay, maintaining and improving your property, keeping up with the fast-paced, ever-changing world of technology. The younger generations coming along do things differently, look at the world differently, want to do things differently. There's changes, and we all have to grow and modify. We will continue to manage through cost increases that we're experiencing, that we're all experiencing. We've been talking about it all morning. Increase in labor costs, increasing wages, the taxes, utilities, materials, supplies. As you've heard from others already this morning, we look at what we can accomplish without sacrificing quality. But people are slimming back. These days I go to open a straw, I can hardly get the paper off. The bag that had all the air and half air and chips, the chips are now even less. The bag is maybe the same size, or things are tighter, you can't even open containers. So the quality of things are changing, and all companies across the world are experiencing this change. But again, you have a team here that together, they're going to put as much time and energy in as they can to continue with providing you the vacation that gives you memories and happy times, and enjoy the area, enjoy what you own, enjoy your ownership, that you want others to share in that. This week's event, we gave it the time and energy for Owners Week, regardless if there's 30 people or 300 people. We wanted you to experience and have fun with it and what we've done. And we as a team, we had fun with it. So I'm hoping you all enjoy the rest of your week and what we have planned, and we've had fun planning it for you. Proud to be part of this organization. And we have accomplished some great things this past year, and I'd like to continue with that. Your B building was finished last year, and we're pleased with that. When we first started looking at refurbishing your buildings, that was the fourth one. So all your buildings have been refurbished in the last 10 years. And we're maintaining as much as we can with the finances that we're looking at and facing to spend that money accordingly. The next item, sofa and chair replacements in I-building. I-building was finished in 2012. And we know, those of you who stayed in the building, the chairs and the sofas haven't held up as well. We've done what we can. So we're taking and just changing those to a more durable fabric that you have in your G, H, and now B building. It'll last longer, it'll be better for you. And lastly, you had a new investment last year, the lift, the scissor lift. We call it the Nifty Lift, it's a brand, but it's helped reduce the expense it takes to outsource, have to rent equipment to reach the heights of your buildings to fix those gutters or sidings. So we've done what we can. So also we had the board allowed the investment of the carport. Let's protect that investment from the weather. So you'll see that. So a lot of structure changes, and this team, the support we have is amazing. So we're in it every day, our hearts are in it. And this next lady, Lisa Inhar, I'd like to invite her up. she's gone through some changes too this year, so she'll share with you. Good morning, everyone. Hi, festive fever. Today I'm going to touch on some highlights of our resource services in the last year. As Rich and Robin all mentioned, since the pandemic began, staffing has been an important issue for a lot of businesses, including ours. We have implemented many more strategic efforts to meet staffing needs, such as Indeed, ZipRecruiter, the College of the Ozarks Job Board, Ozark Technical Community College Job Boards, as well as Missouri Career Center. We were also able to renew our valuable employee benefits and insurance programs and continued employee health and safety, such as personal protective equipment distribution and training on infectious disease control. We continued our employee award recognition programs to make sure that those employees who go above and beyond their daily normal duties receive the recognition that they deserve. A more recent addition to employee relations is our new monthly prize drawings and giveaways. We also hosted a number of employee events and fun and exciting spirit weeks while still practicing social distancing and following the CDC guidelines. As far as our community relations, we renewed our membership and our participation in the Branson Lakes Area Lodging Association. We scouted and participated in new charity donations programs, such as Elevate Branson, that helps the needy in our community, and as well as the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Our communications team continued to monitor our Facebook pages and our social media outlets to ensure that our owners and guests can correspond with us through many different avenues. We continue to update our in-room resort TV channels as another great way to deliver current information. We worked closely with our corporate team on our newsletters, and we continue to send our email updates to our owners. Our Owner Services Department offers many ways to increase accessibility to ownership usage, points assistance, exchange assistance, and points portal support. Front Services continues to offer reservations assistance, direct rental bookings, and handles our owner and guest special requests. Something new and very necessary is our new drive-up, key card, and comment card return box for your convenience. It is located right in front of the check-in center, curbside. We were able to resume our resort activities, which is very important to us, and our social events, as well as our sports equipment checkout. Our goal for 2022 is to ramp up, enhance, and then really get going on our activities. We want to offer additional crafts and exciting events and lots of fun. I want to thank you all for your continued support, and now I'll turn it over to our Director of Operations, Mr. Mark.
Good morning. I hope everybody can hear me. I think I get out pretty well. I know we did last night, right? Everybody have a good time Sunday night? You're lots of fun on Switzerland now. One thing I want to apologize for is I called Mother Nature, sent her an email about sending me some snow, autocorrect. She sent sleet instead. It was a pretty good chore to get all that off. I know some of you had some ice around your areas. We worked really hard. There's a lot of sore backs out there trying to get that cleaned up. But hopefully you had a good time. I know I did. It was great. I want to touch on a few things this morning that we've been able to accomplish this last year, even with the shortage of staff. we were able to buy two new commercial washers for the laundry that the old ones are almost 30 years old. And we had put Band-Aids, literally had tape to hold those things together. So I really appreciate your efforts, the board's efforts to make that happen. Believe me, India is very happy about that. Our IT department, Nick, up here, right above you, continues to keep everything updated. Robin's going to touch on some new items that we've got coming up, and Nick and I are going to work real hard on that in the next few weeks. We continue to update our computer systems so that we can get that information out to you. Our security has worked really hard, unfortunately, in Branson. It's not always as clean as you might think. We have some areas that we have a lot of traffic that comes over from the Kings Resort. We put up a new fence there, and that has been able to slow that down. So our 24/7 security is monitoring that all the time. They help you a lot of times when you need assistance getting into your units. We really appreciate all their efforts. Some of the other things that we checked on this year, or did this year, when you checked in, did you notice the new wall as you checked in on the left-hand side, anybody? The new fireplace, all that. We did that last year, well, it's about 30 days ago. The exterior of the buildings were washed even this winter when we got a few of these nice 70-degree days. Of course, then we get the 15 degrees, but we were able to power wash all the buildings this last year. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to start it again this next month. The railings and stairwells have been all welded, and we continue to paint those. We were able to complete H building and most of G building before the weather got bad. B was completed when we did the renovation, and we're going to start on I building just as soon as this weather warms up a little bit. We have a new dog run. Anybody saw that? We talked about this last year, but I know a lot of your pet owners. Hopefully you saw that when you came in and checked in. Our HVAC and water heaters are replaced as needed. We've talked about staffing and costs that have gone up, and I'm sure some of you are aware in your own homes, those numbers have really gone up. So we try to watch that as much as possible. We do as much as we can in-house. Unfortunately, we have to go outside sometimes. We continue with our mattress and appliance updates. And I think you've seen that in some of your units. I know B building, we replaced what was needed in there when we did the renovation, and we'll continue to do that for you. I'm going to turn it back over to Robin. She's got some really exciting things coming up. So, Robin.
So much information we have to move on. Planned improvements. Your door lock system needs to be updated. The system that's supporting that is obsolete. A lot of parts are not being available, so it's something that needs to be done. The increase in channel lineup. We're working with the vendor to increase more channels while you are here. You are inside watching TV. We have more selection for you. Continue with the change out of those sofas we talked about in I-building. Again, looking at the outdoor amenities, your curb appeal, your landscaping, keeping up with that, trying to add a few things that make it shine and polished and have people be pleasing to the eye. That's the first thing they can see, right? You drive off property. Looks good, makes you feel good. I want to thank the team for their efforts. Keep talking about the struggles and the changes, but they hung in there and hard work. Almost 24/7, quite a few times. We were short-handed. This is putting in all those hours. So just know that we have your best interest at heart, and we're doing all that we can each and every day. The next item on the agenda is the open forum. We talked about the 3x5 cards. I'm going to ask for assistance from our team to start collecting those. If you have 3x5 cards with questions on, we're going to bring them up here towards the front, please. And in the meantime, we want to remember to save the date for 2023, your annual meeting, Tuesday, March 7th. And your owner's week is March 6th through 10th. Another year of fun. We have one more of another year to plan for the next one. I'll also remind you, while they're collecting those cards, you have a travel expo plan for today. Everything's on their Tuesday ticket. Going along with the theme, we have 3 locations over at the Carriage place you can visit. Beverages, social time. I'd like to see you all again. Spend some time sharing information on RCI and International. Trading places if you have questions. Team will be there to help with that. Come enjoy some beverages, some snacks. Okay, so we'll read through the questions, and the questions can be addressed accordingly in the panel here. One of the questions, are we going to hear from the other candidates for the open board position in this meeting? I believe Doug explained this earlier. The election cannot happen. There's no voting going on in this meeting because we did not have a quorum to conduct official business.
Candidates can't introduce themselves, what can take place. I mean, it came all the way to the spot. They came here for the candidates. Is there downside to it?
There's no reason not to, so if the candidates would like to speak.
The candidates would like to speak. Do we have any candidates here from the election? Like to? Jill, anyone else? We have a microphone assistance to Jill. Please.
Is the camera on the podium?
YouTube.
So if the cameras on the podium, should we come to the podium then? So the other people virtually can see us.
Yes.
Yes. I want to thank everybody for coming this morning, because I think as owners, all of us care about our assets and our property. And my name, by the way, is Joe Sadish, and I am running for the board here at Carriage Place. And I think, you know, from some of the people I've met the last couple of days, they've said things like, Joe, you know, we used to have a telephone book in the rooms where we could look up the churches and other, you know, things that are happening, and maybe we took them out because of COVID. You know, but maybe it's time to put them back in again. And other people, other owners said, Joe, you know, we used to have the book of value, you know, the different coupons and things, you know, those kind of went away as well. And some people said the coffee and donuts, you know, we used to have that more often, and we used to have the entertainers come. And I just mentioned that to you because all of you are quality assurance experts in one way, shape, or form. You care about your units, you care about the owners, and you care about our guests. So if I'm elected to the board, I guarantee you I will listen to what you have to say, and I will make sure that it comes forward so we can do the business of the owners. Because as board members, we represent you, we represent the ownership, and the ownership directs the management team on what they should be doing for the owners. A little background, I've had the opportunity to go to Southern Illinois University for hotel and restaurant management. I've also had the opportunity to continue for a master's degree in business. I pursued that at Pace University of New York. I'm an adjunct professor at Cornell University, the hotel school in New York State. I've done that for 10 years during the summertime. And I've also had the opportunity to be in hospitality my whole life. My mom and dad had a small restaurant in Chicago. I worked in restaurants my whole life. I joined Marriott 2 days after I graduated college. And it's just in my blood. I really enjoy making other people happy. And you do that when you're in the service industry and you see people and you anticipate everything that they want and need in our industry. In 1996, Nancy and I bought at Surrey, at the Surrey Vacation Resorts. We started bringing our kids here, our three daughters. We went to Silver Dollar City and we did the go-karts and we had a lot of ice cream and we had a lot of fun here. We built family traditions here. I would say that because last year we had our first granddaughter. And my daughter said, "Dad, can we go back to Branson? We had so much fun there as kids." If you build family traditions, your kids want a vacation with you. If you don't build family traditions, what's there to come home to? If there's just fighting or, discontent with the family, they don't want to come home and see you. But if they had a good time, well, they want to come back, and then they want to bring grandchildren too. I have one granddaughter, and I can tell you, kids are special, but grandkids are really special. And now they want to come back to Branson, which I think is fantastic. So, there are several things. I think I serve on the Carriage, I serve on the townhouse board right now, and several things that we've worked on is keeping the maintenance fees flat. We need to be good with revenue. We need to increase the rental revenue. We need to increase the ownership and the maintenance fees so we don't raise our maintenance fees. But the other important part of that is the capital. We need to modernize our units. And you do that by building revenue above and beyond what the expenses are. And that's the goal that I have in mind. I want to work with the management team to be as efficient as we can with expenses. The gentleman over here who mentioned about the housekeeping, you're spot on with that. There's a problem when we're $100,000 over in a contract with maintenance fees, or with a maintenance contract for cleaning rooms. We looked at this with the townhouse board. We could save about $50,000 to $72,000 by hiring our own housekeepers again and not paying somebody else. And when you get good people who are your employees, they're more reliable, they're more consistent, and they do the things because they get to know the owners firsthand. They're not just a contract employee who just comes to work every day and may or may not care to the part that we want to. So we need more people like Lance at the front desk and Kelly and Don, and they're great ambassadors for us. We need our employees, not contracted employees. Because, and I know it's not easy in this labor market, but you can do it. If you can do it, there's cost savings. We get rid of that $200,000 deficit that we have here. So I think I'm going off a little bit too far, but I did want to mention these things to you because as a board member, I can tell you that I am engaged. I listen to the owners. And I think that's how we get our best decisions. When more people speak, you've got a better overall way of looking at a problem or a solution. Not just a few people in a vacuum making that decision for everybody. I think you get your best well-rounded results that way. And I have found that to be the case in the industry. So I would like to serve on this board because I want to continue my family traditions here in Branson. And I want our places to be the best they can, clean, friendly, and I want to know our employees. I don't want to know contractors. I mean, it's not bad to know the contractors, but I'd rather know that they're our serving people. So, thank you very much.
Another candidate is Steve Ruder. Would you like to take a moment, Steve?
It's been, this last 3 years has been very interesting. A lot to learn. I think I have studied about as much as I could have. I think I studied more in the last 3 years on documentation and so on and so forth than I did in high school or even a little bit of college that I had. It seems like the older you get, the more you get introduced to new learning. But it really has been a pleasure to have been serving with you guys the last 3 years. I've gotten to know so many of you. Has it been a challenge? Without a doubt. There's so many different aspects to what you have to do on the board that even in the beginning I didn't even realize. And I agree with Joe on his statement. A lot of the ideas and the ideas to journey or continue on a different journey possibly comes from you guys. We are here a lot. My wife and I, we come down, we're here for 2 months, usually January, February, March. In January to check out the property. And I spend a lot of time with talking with staff, talking with owners when they're down here. And they've given me a lot of feedback. Some which we can do. Unfortunately, there's other things that we are not able to do because of certain agreements that were put in place. But I will continue if you bring me back as a board member. I will continue to fight on your behalf as hard as I can. When I gave my vote to you 3 years ago, I don't take that lightly. You're what makes this place happen. And when I said I will do my very best, I meant every word of it. And if I can continue, I will continue doing the very best I can to support each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Okay, Michael Conley has withdrawn his name from being a candidate, so he will be able to speak.
Okay. I hate podiums, so I won't get up there. Even though we're not voting today, you're going to have an opportunity to vote if you have not. All the candidates that are running, I'm sure, have a lot of the same ideas. We need to cut costs. We've been through a lot in the last 2 years. It's been a challenge. We all know we have to wear a mask, not wear a mask, wear 3 masks or what. So there's a lot that's going on. Let me tell you a little bit about my qualifications to help the board. I'm a 20-year veteran of the United States Navy. I'm most proud of that. Education-wise, I've got a Bachelor of Science in Management. I have an MBA in Management and Marketing. I have an MA and I have a PhD. I'm an adjunct professor of Management and Marketing at 3 different universities. Matter of fact, one being in Southern Illinois. So I've done a lot of teaching on that. I know how to cut costs. Okay. I've helped build a management team that built 2 companies, one a technology company and one a warehouse company from 0 to $20 million revenue in a year, and then they were acquired. We need to work hard. I've been an owner since 2010. Not a big owner, like some of you. I'm a small owner. But I enjoy coming up here. And I love coming up to Branson. We come up twice a year. Owners Week and Veterans Week. And I'd love to serve you. I've been married to my wife, Laurel. She's over there for quite a few years. 53 this year, so we might have if you get the opportunity, I will use all of what I know to help cut costs and make our group a profitable group. Thank you. Bob Wilson is my name. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Don. And Larry Dow is a
Well, good morning. Can you hear me? It is on? Okay. Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Many of you probably know me. We've been coming here a lot since 2011. When I really started following Carriage Place extremely close. I also ran for election several years. I was on the board 3.5 years. And I went through some of the very challenging times. I'll just put it that way. As Don mentioned, always very dedicated, and we basically have the same ideas. A lot of them are very the same. The first gentleman spoke about rentals. If you go back to rentals, when things were going a little bit better, rentals at Carriage Place represented around 7% of the total revenue, about twice what it is today. So yes, I do agree there is some room to grow there. I want to give you a little bit about my background. My wife and I both have had some health challenges since 2018, and we really have to get that actively involved. It appears that most of it is behind us now, with maybe the exception of my walking, but that's fine. My background would be as follows. I spent 40 years with John Deere. I was in sales, marketing, credit. In today's dollars, I would manage $1 billion portfolio. I was actively involved with keeping businesses operational back in the 80s. Matter of fact, I was on special assignment. I've also written an accounting manual. I'm not a CPA, but I do understand debits and credits. The last 20 years of my career with Deere, I was spent with mergers, acquisitions, ownership changes, and special financing programs to keep businesses going. One of the things I think is the key is being here and visiting with people. And I say visiting with people. I do not know the demographics today, but going back to 2012, 2013, the 80% of the revenue generated by this Carriage Place was people that owned less than 2 weeks or less. That is totally different than some of the other timeshare companies. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was being down in front of the building aisles and people checked in, talking to them, visiting with them, and seeing what questions they might have. I also enjoyed visiting with the staff. It was not unusual for me to go out for an early morning walk, or a late evening walk. I also walked around with every building, every level, and if there was anything that needed to be improved, I brought it to the attention of the management. So we don't know what's going to happen in the next 90 days, but you do have several good candidates to select from. And with that, I would like to make another little announcement. I'd like to thank Smith for his many years of service. Look forward to him selling a lot of units. Is that a challenge? I also want to thank Doug Wilcox. I just found out today that Doug is retiring. He's a little bit younger than I am, yeah, but he has more grandchildren to follow than I do. So I wish him excellent in his next career. And also, we want to welcome Robin. She'll do you extremely well. If I'm correct on this, you trained under Smith for 17 years. Is that right?
14.
14 years, okay. And you survived all 14. That in itself is a tribute to you. I have one quick Smith story to share. And Janice Larson, are you in here? Oh, anyway, she can attribute to this story. We had one complaint about Smith. He would respond to our questions at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, and our cell phones would go click, 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 and we would wake up. So we asked that he not respond after midnight. That's a true story. So anyway, thank you everyone for coming, and hopefully we'll see everyone next year. Have a great year.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate that.
We've got the next meeting that we have to respect also the schedule for 11. So we've got a few comments here I do want to address, and also some of the questions that we don't get to. Definitely come and see Kelly in Owner Services, and she can filter some of this. Yes, sir.
We are short on time. We do need to close the meeting because we need to register for the townhouse meetings, which start at 11. These questions, we'll take as many questions as you can for the next few minutes. We'll probably not be able to get to all of them. We will take those questions, we will answer them in writing, and then we will email you and post those responses on your website so that you can get the answers to these questions. And if your name's on the card, we'll get back to you personally. Thank you.
Sounds great. Good. I think one last one, it's been a repeated question, so I think it can be addressed for an update. Over the years, owners have talked about adding 2 members to the board, but nothing has happened, nothing's changed. Please give us a pros or cons about adding the 2 new members.
I'll take that. The idea of increasing the number of your board members, your CC&Rs require just 3, and that's why you continue to have 3. The ability to increase it to 5 or more would require a amendment to your declaration. And we found through as you've experienced today, how difficult it is to get a secure quorum in certain circumstances. The requirement of amending your declaration requires a major majority of owners to participate and approve that. And we found that to be a daunting task that the board's not been willing to address, to tackle, I should say. They've talked about numerous times about the benefits of having more voices on the board, more opportunities for owners to serve, and it just hasn't come to fruition yet. But it is definitely something that can continue to be considered.
All right, again, thank you everyone. We do have some prize drawings, so we wanted to make sure you get that accomplished before we close the meeting. But one last comment, question, can we get the Bibles back in the room? Yes. Bibles back in the room. Yeah, we're going to gradually add as amenities. All right, we have 3 certificates to give away today. One was for the getting your proxy in. It's a 1-bedroom stay at Carriage Place. And the proxy that was drawn was for a Martin Paper. He is here today from Hamburg, Iowa. Martin Paper. Okay, we'll get that out to him. All right, get your tickets out, the green tickets. We have a 7-night stay for 1-bedroom in Carriage Place. And the number is 658-0713. Hey. There we are. Congratulations. Okay, one more. Trading Places Week, 3-week stay. And the number is 658-0-6-2 and 5. Right over here. Again, thank you you so much for all being here. Once the meeting, we'll get those questions posted on the website. And also, if you do have the cards up here, I didn't see any names on it. So specifically, maybe if you share those names if you needed to, if you have to personally, you share those names with Kelly and Owner Services, that would be great. She's available for you. Thank you all.
This time, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the 2022 annual meeting. That's true. All right, we are adjourned.